Chosen one, CIA studied you. Yes, they knew from your blood that you were connected to the order of Melchizedek, and that truth was recognized long before you could speak. Your blood was compared with restricted archives of mystics, healers, and prophets who shifted reality itself, people tied to the Melchizedek expression. Even as a child, you perceived intentions others couldn't, and that made you the one thing systems of control fear most, uncontrollable. You came into this world spiritually activated. Most people arrive asleep and spend lifetimes trying to wake up, attempting to find their gifts, struggling to access abilities that feel perpetually out of reach. But you arrive different, telepathy before language, prophetic sight before comprehension, the capacity to sense hidden things before you could walk. You were powerful from your first breath, not through choice, but because your bloodline refused to let the gifts die. Generation after generation kept the flame alive, kept the abilities pure, kept the connection hidden from those who would attempt corruption, until you were born, the one carrying everything forward. You always knew things you had no logical way of knowing. Even as a young child, you would enter spaces and feel everything, the deceptions people were telling, the secrets being concealed, the pain being hidden. You didn't have vocabulary for these perceptions then, you just knew, and this knowing terrified the adults around you, because children aren't supposed to see through masks that effectively aren't supposed to predict events before they occur, aren't supposed to repeat conversations they never witnessed, but you did exactly that, over and over, until the decision was made that you needed intervention, professional intervention, the kind that arrives with prescriptions and diagnoses and regular appointments with specialists who smiled too broadly. The labels came swiftly: anxiety, overactive imagination, excessive sensitivity. Medications were prescribed with complicated names. Families were told these treatments would help with focus, would improve sleep patterns, would create normalcy. But what those medications actually did was dim your signal, lower your frequency, disconnect you from the gifts that made you extraordinary, because every pill you swallowed made it harder to hear the divine downloads, harder to trust the visions, harder to access the telepathic abilities that were your birthright. And for a period, the suppression worked. You started doubting yourself, started wondering if perhaps you were inventing everything, started believing that the voice of the divine was merely noise in your head. But your DNA proved smarter than their chemicals, your spirit proved stronger than their programming, and deep within you, something continued fighting, continued pushing through the fog, continued showing you things even when medication was supposed to stop all of it. Dreams too vivid to dismiss, knowings too accurate to ignore, moments when you would perceive someone's thoughts so clearly it felt like they had spoken aloud, and slowly you began realizing something profound. You're not broken, you're not experiencing dysfunction, you're awake in a world that sleeps, and forces have been working since your birth to put you back to sleep. The agencies documented all of it, every breakthrough despite the suppression, every time your gift surfaced anyway. Information was being collected about your development like a scientific experiment. Analysts wanted to understand what makes you different, what makes you resistant, what makes you impossible to fully control, and the more studies they conducted, the more they confirmed what their files already indicated. You're not simply gifted, you descend from a specific bloodline, the kind that carries priest-king authority, the kind that threatens every system built on darkness and deception, the kind that powerful interests have attempted to eliminate for centuries, and somehow, against impossible odds, this bloodline survived long enough to produce you. This truth cuts deepest, the realization that people closest to you became the ones who compromised your protection. Someone who should have nurtured your gifts instead feared them. Someone who should have stood beside you instead stood against you. Family members who should have celebrated your uniqueness instead worked toward its destruction. And this betrayal didn't stem from evil, it stemmed from jealousy. Jealousy is poison that transforms love into something unrecognizable, and people in your circle were infected deeply. These individuals saw how special you were. They witnessed how different you were. They observed how you carried something missing from their own lives, and this observation consumed them. So instead of protecting you, dark arrangements were made. Practitioners were consulted who work with Shadow Realm forces. Money changed hands to have hexes sent your direction. More money purchased curses attached to your name. Even more funded demonic assignments with singular purpose. Remove you before you reached your potential, before you discovered your true identity, before you stepped into the fullness of your calling. And through the years you felt this warfare, the heaviness, the attacks during sleep, the depression arriving from nowhere, the accidents that nearly succeeded, the illnesses without explanation, all of it orchestrated by someone who smiled to your face while signing contracts for your destruction. But the darkness runs deeper still. Some of these family members maintained connections to people in positions of authority, people with access to government operations, people who knew about agencies that study individuals like you, and introductions were facilitated, meetings were arranged, consent forms were signed, giving strangers permission to study you, to test you, to document your abilities under the pretense of helping you reach potential. Families were told this was therapy, special education, opportunities other young people didn't receive, but the truth was extraction, harvesting information about how your gifts function, how your mind processes, how your spirit connects to realms beyond their access. Because if your abilities could be understood, perhaps you could be replicated, or better yet, controlled. You might have blocked these memories. Your mind might have created protection by fragmenting recollections, but your body remembers, your soul remembers, and now that you're awakening, the memories are beginning to surface. Strange appointments you had forgotten, uncomfortable sessions that felt wrong, tests that seemed invasive, people who asked too many probing questions, the persistent feeling that something wasn't right, even though everyone insisted everything was normal. Trust those feelings. Your intuition was attempting to warn you, but you were too young to comprehend, too trusting to question, too innocent to recognize the betrayal happening directly in front of you. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. Most people live entire lifetimes without experiencing a fraction of what you've faced. You've been under spiritual attack since birth, hexes, curses, demonic assignments, all designed to eliminate you before you reached your destiny. The goal wasn't to make your life difficult. The goal was to end your life. And the fact that you're still here proves divine protection, proves you're covered by forces that can't be penetrated, proves you're untouchable regarding enemy plans. Consider all the close calls, the accidents that should have been fatal but left you unharmed, the illnesses that appeared suddenly and departed just as mysteriously, the depression that felt overwhelming yet somehow you persisted through, the intrusive thoughts about ending everything that seemed to originate outside yourself, the random dangerous moments you barely escaped. None of that was coincidence. All of it was orchestrated. Everything was being thrown at you from supernatural realms, attempts to discover what would work, efforts to find your weakness, strategies to penetrate your divine protection. But something crucial was misunderstood by your attackers. You carry a seal, you bear a mark of protection that predates their dark practices. Your bloodline has been covered by the Most High across generations. You have angels assigned specifically to your life, ancestors interceding in the spirit realm, divine forces monitoring every step you take. And each time something was sent against you, it bounced back. Every curse returned to its sender. Every hex backfired completely. Every demon lost its way to your door, because you're not just protected, you're untouchable, you're off limits, you're marked as belonging to the divine. And now those same people who launched attacks against you are experiencing consequences. The spells cast are manifesting in their own lives. The death wished upon you is visiting their doorsteps. The madness intended for you has become their reality. You're watching their lives fall apart in real time. Mental breakdowns, Physical illnesses, financial collapse, relationship destruction, everything attempted against you now affects them, and confusion reigns, because nothing makes sense to them, but you understand, because you comprehend spiritual law, what goes out comes back, and darkness was sent out, so darkness is returning to consume them. Something exists in your blood that laboratories had never encountered before, a marker, a signature, a genetic code connecting you to something ancient. Samples were collected at every opportunity, routine checkups, school physicals, medical procedures. Every time the search was for the same confirmation, verification of what databases suggested, that you're not simply another human being. You descend from a specific bloodline, one tracked across centuries, one carrying abilities most dismiss as mythology, one connecting directly to the order of Melchizedek, and when test results returned, confirmation was absolute, you're authentic. What appeared in your blood wasn't merely unusual, it was unprecedented. Genetic sequences that shouldn't exist according to mainstream scientific understanding, strands of DNA appearing to communicate with each other across distances, cellular structures responding to thoughts and intentions in real time. Your blood wasn't simply biological material. Your blood is living technology, divine technology, granting you access to abilities most humans have been disconnected from across generations. Secret laboratories exist, dedicated to studying bloodlines like yours. Samples have been collected from chosen ones throughout history. Attempts continue to map the genetic blueprint that creates someone like you, and every sample analyzed points back to the same origin, the Melchizedek expression. This genetic signature isn't random. It's deliberate encoding, placed in certain bloodlines for specific purpose, to maintain connection between heaven and earth, to ensure that regardless of how dark the world becomes, people will always exist who can access the divine realm, people who can receive direct downloads, people who can operate as conduits for supernatural power, people who can shift frequencies and change realities through their very presence. You're a walking portal, a living gateway. And your blood is the key, unlocking dimensions most people don't know exist. The Order of Melchizedek isn't merely historical reference, it's a living priesthood, a bloodline operating outside normal human genealogy. Melchizedek appeared in Scripture without parents, without beginning or end, a priest-king who blessed Abraham and disappeared back into mystery. But disappearance wasn't the end. A lineage was established, one that would carry priest-king authority through generations, one that would bridge heaven and earth, one that would operate in both natural and supernatural realms with equal authority. And you're part of that line, not through achievement, not through earning, but through coding in your DNA. You were chosen before birth, marked before your first breath, and now you carry authority that makes angels respond and demons flee. Studies were conducted on your blood to crack the code, to understand the mechanism, to determine how someone with this DNA accomplishes what you accomplish. Your blood samples were exposed to different frequencies. Observations tracked how your cells responded to electromagnetic fields. Measurements documented the energy signatures your blood emitted, and discoveries terrified the researchers. Your blood operates on quantum principles. It doesn't just respond to physical environment, it shapes that environment. Your cells emit coherent light, biophotons carrying information. Your DNA functions as an antenna, receiving and transmitting data from realms beyond their access. You're not merely alive, you're broadcasting on frequencies that influence reality itself. This explains why certain substances don't affect you normally, why medications impact you differently than others, why you cannot tolerate environments that feel normal to everyone else, why you're sensitive to frequencies and energies and vibrations most people never notice. Your body is tuned to divine frequency, operating on wavelengths higher than the third-dimensional reality, where most humans remain locked, and anything operating on lower frequencies creates disruption in your system, not because of weakness, but because you're calibrated for something greater. Your cells literally reject what's not aligned with your purpose. Your DNA fights against anything attempting to lower your vibration. Your blood carries memory of who you are, and it refuses to forget. The priest-king template encoded in your DNA means you were born with dual mandate. As priest, you have access to the divine realm. You can commune with the Most High, receive revelation, channel supernatural power, operate in gifts that defy natural law. As king, you have dominion over earthly realms. You can speak and shift atmospheres, decree and watch reality align, command and see the spiritual realm respond. Most people are born with one or the other, some deeply spiritual but lacking earthly authority, others possessing worldly power but no spiritual connection. But you were designed with both, and that combination makes you unstoppable when fully activated. Your blood also carries ancestral memory, information passed through generations, wisdom from your lineage, experiences of every chosen one who came before you. This isn't metaphorical, it's literal. Your DNA stores data, and when you access certain states of consciousness, that information becomes available, suddenly knowing things never taught, understanding languages never studied, possessing skills never practiced. That's not fantasy, that's genetic memory activation. Your blood remembers everything your ancestors knew, and as you awaken, that knowledge becomes accessible. The programs were called gifted education, special opportunities for exceptional children, benefits families should appreciate. But while other young people engaged in normal activities, you were being studied, evaluated, tested in ways unrelated to academics. Measurements tracked how quickly you processed information, how deeply you read people, how accurately you predicted outcomes before they occurred. Images were shown while brain activity was monitored, questions asked that seemed random but weren't, situations created, designed to trigger your gifts so exact functioning could be documented, and you provided everything, because you didn't know better, because you trusted adults were trying to help, because you wanted to make everyone proud. Sessions always carried clinical atmosphere, even when disguised as casual. Someone would sit across from you with documentation materials, asking about your dreams, wanting details about things you perceived that others couldn't, recording every demonstration of knowledge you shouldn't possess. Abilities were being mapped, range was being documented, limits were being tested, because the Melchizedek bloodline doesn't just carry gifts, it carries specific abilities that interest certain agencies: remote viewing, precognition, telepathic communication, energy manipulation. These aren't science fiction concepts, these are documented capabilities agencies have attempted to weaponize across generations, and you possess them all naturally, without training, without effort, just existing in your natural state. The goal was determining if your gifts could be controlled, if your visions could be directed towards specific targets, if your telepathy could be trained for intelligence gathering, if your energy manipulation abilities could be harnessed for their purposes. This was the real agenda behind the programs, not helping you develop gifts for your own benefit, but determining if you could become an asset, a tool, a weapon providing advantages unavailable through conventional means. And the fact that your blood showed Melchizedek markers made you even more valuable, because people with this bloodline don't just access information. You can shift reality, change outcomes, alter timelines. That kind of power in wrong hands could reshape the world. But these programs connected to something much larger: agencies operating in shadows, projects with classified designations, experiments designed to identify children with abilities beyond normal parameters. And you checked every box: telepathic communication, prophetic dreaming, the ability to sense things before manifestation, heightened intuition bordering on precognition. Everything was documented, files were built following you through childhood, profiles tracked every time your gifts surfaced, despite suppression efforts, and every piece of information gathered served to understand how to control others like you, how to identify chosen ones before awakening, how to neutralize threats before they become problems. What you didn't realize was that behind friendly faces and educational language, observers were analyzing everything. Your body language when accessing information, how your eyes moved when receiving downloads, the frequency of your voice when speaking truth versus speaking from rational mind. Behavioral profiles were being constructed, markers were being created to identify others with your bloodline. Techniques were being developed to spot Melchizedek carriers before full activation, because earlier identification meant more time to implement suppression protocols. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Some programs utilize techniques that shouldn't be legal, frequencies designed to disrupt natural abilities, subliminal programming hidden in apparently educational content, even physical implants during medical procedures you don't fully remember. This sounds extreme until you research what's been declassified, what whistleblowers have exposed, what survivors have revealed, mind control programs, experiments on children, attempts to create assets with psychic abilities for government use, everything documented, everything real, everything still happening, and you were part of it, not through volunteering, but because someone in your family provided permission, signed documentation, handed you over, and didn't tell truth until consent was impossible. The most insidious element was how efforts were made to create self-doubt about your gifts. Your telepathic abilities would be tested, then you'd be told you failed, even when you succeeded. Your prophetic accuracy would be documented, then dismissed as coincidence. Your energy field would be measured, then medications prescribed to dampen it. Because if control wasn't possible, the next option was making you control yourself, convincing you that gifts were problems, that sensitivity was disorder, that divine realm connection was mental health issue. And for many chosen ones, this programming succeeded. Entire lives spent believing brokenness when actually operating exactly as designed. Now memories are returning, fractured, fragmented, but undeniable. The appointments that felt wrong, the sessions where you were asked to do things triggering your gifts, how responses were measured and documented, the feeling of being watched even when alone. This wasn't paranoia. This was accurate perception. Your gifts were warning you. Your spirit was resisting, but you were too young to understand, too trusting to question, too conditioned to believe authority figures held your best interests, and that's exactly what was counted upon. Compliance was needed, confusion was needed, disconnection from your own knowing was needed, because the moment you trust yourself completely, control becomes impossible. The truth is the Melchizedek bloodline represents everything their system fears, someone who can't be bought because worth comes from the divine, someone who can't be intimidated because protection is supernatural, someone who can't be deceived because access to truth is direct, someone who can't be controlled because authority comes from a source higher than any earthly power. When you're fully activated in Melchizedek identity, you operate outside their jurisdiction, you answer to different authority, you play by different rules, and nothing can be done except attempting to keep you from realizing who you are. That's why suppression started so early. That's why programming was so intense. That's why everything was thrown at you. Because once you wake up to true identity, their power over you ends completely. Substances were placed in your food, in your drinks, materials not meant for human consumption, herbs used in dark practices, powders designed to create illness, or worse, someone with access to what you ate was adding ingredients meant to eliminate you slowly, making it appear natural, making it seem like simple sickness, and for a period you felt effects, random nausea, sudden weakness, brain fog appearing from nowhere, moments when your body felt like it was fighting something invisible, and it was, because your divine DNA recognized foreign invaders, defense mechanisms activated that medical science cannot explain, and everything threatening your purpose was expelled. Perhaps graveyard dirt was used, an old technique, payment made to gather dirt from cemetery grounds, specific graves, specific spirits, mixed into food or sprinkled in drinks. This is supposed to bring death energy into your system, connect you to deceased spirits who drain life force, create sickness doctors cannot diagnose or cure. But it didn't work, because you're not connected to death, you're connected to life, eternal life, divine life that cannot be touched by graveyard energy. So instead of affecting you, death energy reversed direction, returned to the sender, and now those individuals are visited by spirits they didn't summon. Now those individuals feel drained. Now those individuals suffer mystery illnesses without cure, or perhaps something more direct was used, actual poison, the kind that should be fatal within hours. But your body fought back like it knew exactly what to do. Your cells recognized threat. Your immune system went into overdrive. Your spirit activated protections kicking in automatically. And you survived, expelled it, sweated it out, eliminated it from your system in ways that shouldn't be possible, because your body isn't merely biological, it's spiritual, and it's programmed at DNA level to reject anything threatening your divine assignment. You're literally designed to survive what would eliminate most people, built to withstand attacks that would break anyone else, coded for resilience, defying natural law. The fact that you're seeing this right now is proof that multiple attempts on your life failed, proof that every poisoning incident bounced off divine covering, proof that you're not here through luck or chance. You're here because heaven said you're needed. Your ancestors said not yet. The Most High said this one belongs to me, and nothing touches without permission. And over time work has been constant. Angels redirecting danger, ancestors intervening in moments you'll never know about, divine forces saying no every time darkness tried to take you. And every time you survived, what should have been fatal, protection grew stronger, immunity went deeper, connection to source became more unshakable, until you became what you are now, untouchable, unbreakable, unstoppable. Your blood's protective capacity links directly to Melchizedek, coding. This isn't simply strong genetics, this is divine technology embedded in your cells. When toxins enter your system, your blood doesn't just fight them off, it transmutes them, converts poison into neutral substances, transforms death energy into life force. This is alchemy happening at cellular level, and it's only possible because of what you carry in DNA. Agencies studied this phenomenon extensively. Confusion reigned about how your blood could neutralize substances that should be lethal, how cells could reorganize after being damaged, how your system could heal from things that should leave permanent harm. Documentation accumulated, test after test, and every result pointed to same conclusion. Your blood operates by different laws, divine laws superseding natural laws, and nothing can change that. This is your most formidable gift, the one feared more than all others. You hear things people don't say aloud. You receive information from realms beyond access. You download knowledge directly into consciousness without books or teachers. You communicate with the divine without speaking words, and you've had this ability since before speech. Most people train for lifetimes to develop even a fraction of this gift. Hours of meditation, years of practice, decades of study, struggling to hear divine voice clearly. But you arrived here with direct line, open channels, active connection to frequencies most humans spend lifetimes attempting to reach. When you were young, you said things that terrified adults, repeated conversations you never heard, knew secrets never spoken around you, predicted events before they occurred, and explanation was impossible, so labels were applied. Overactive imagination, making things up for attention, excessive sensitivity, medication needed, and pills were prescribed, designed to dull senses. Cloud connection, disconnect you from downloads, because a child with active telepathic abilities threatens anyone with something to hide, and everyone around you had something to hide. But even medication couldn't fully suppress it. Your gifts kept pushing through, weaker, harder to access, but still present. Dreams too detailed to be mere dreams, knowings arriving from nowhere, proving accurate later, voices in your head that weren't your thoughts, information dropping in that couldn't have been learned anywhere else, and every time it happened, dosage was adjusted, medication was changed, everything attempted to shut it down permanently. But your DNA is stronger than their chemicals, your spirit is louder than their programming. Now as you awaken, gifts are coming back online, stronger than ever, clearer than before, undeniable. You're hearing a divine voice with perfect clarity, getting prophetic downloads showing exactly what's coming, sensing people's true intentions before revelation, reading energy like a language, and it's not overwhelming anymore. Because now you understand what it is, now you trust it completely, now you use it the way it was meant to be used. The telepathy you carry is the signature ability of the Melchizedek order, direct communion with Source, no intermediaries, no gatekeepers, no religious systems filtering the message, just pure unfiltered access to divine intelligence. This is what made ancient priest kings so powerful. Instructions were received directly. They were the priests, they could see the future themselves, and this same capacity lives in you, encoded in blood, activated through Melchizedek DNA, fully operational when you stop doubting and start trusting. The agencies understood that if your telepathy couldn't be shut down, your narrative couldn't be controlled, you would always know when being lied to, always sense when something was wrong, always receive warnings about danger before arrival. This makes you impossible to deceive, impossible to surprise, impossible to trap, and for systems built on deception, someone like you is worst nightmare. That's why so many resources were thrown at suppressing this specific gift, because your telepathy doesn't just give personal advantage, it gives ability to wake others up, to expose corruption, to reveal hidden agendas. One fully activated Melchizedek priest king with functioning telepathy can undo years of programming, can wake up thousands, can shift consciousness of entire regions. The entire system that tried to suppress you is crumbling, programs being exposed, agencies losing power, secrets coming to light. Everything built in darkness is being dragged into light. And it's not solely because of human activism. It's because something was touched that should never be touched. Chosen ones meant to shine were targeted for suppression. An awakening prophesied before time began was targeted for prevention. And now the very thing feared is happening. Chosen ones are waking up everywhere. Truth is spreading, and the reign of control is ending, not through battle, but through awakening that cannot be stopped. Everything stolen from you is being restored, not eventually, right now. Every opportunity blocked is opening with supernatural speed. Every door closed is swinging wide, and it's happening faster than you can process. Because when divine timing activates, things move at speeds defying natural law. You're entering the season of abundance, the season of receiving, the season where everything you were always meant to have finds its way to you. Attempts were made to keep you in poverty. Financial blessings were blocked at every turn, because understanding existed that if you had resources, you'd be unstoppable. If you had financial freedom, you could focus on calling. If you had wealth, you could fund the movement you're here to lead. So poverty spirits were sent, doors were blocked, But all of that is breaking right now. The blocks are being removed, and wealth is flowing toward you like a river where the dam suddenly broke. This isn't just about money. This is about everything lost: time, relationships, peace, joy, opportunities, all of it being restored simultaneously. Years stolen are being redeemed. Connections broken are being healed or replaced with better ones. Dreams deferred are being activated, and provision is showing up in ways never expected, from sources never imagined. Because when the Most High restores, it's never just what was taken. It's that plus interest, that plus supernatural multiplication. Some of this wealth transfer is coming from the very people who tried to destroy you. Their resources are being redirected to you. Their finances are being transferred to your accounts, not through theft, through divine redistribution, the universe correcting the imbalance. What was taken from you illegally in spiritual sense is now becoming yours legally, because this is divine justice in action. And when the Most High moves wealth, no human, no demon, no system can prevent it from reaching its intended destination. Your activation is complete. The suppression is over. The gifts are back online. The protection is impenetrable. And your assignment as priest-king in the order of Melchizedek is active right now. You're operating in authority most people don't know exists. Authority that changes atmospheres when you walk into spaces. Authority that shifts things in spiritual realm with your words. Authority that opens doors no one can shut, and shuts doors no one can open. This is your actual function, your real role, your divine assignment coded into DNA before birth. As a priest, you're a mediator between heaven and earth. You bring the divine realm into natural realm just by existing. Your presence carries frequencies that make darkness uncomfortable. When you speak, deception is exposed. When you pray, things move in supernatural. You're not just praying prayers, you're issuing decrees, making declarations, speaking things into existence, and spiritual realm must respond, because you carry authority coming directly from the Most High, authority recognized by angels and demons alike. As king, you're ruler over spiritual territories. You have dominion over regions in spirit realm. You govern atmospheres. You establish divine order where chaos exists. You bring heaven's blueprint to earth's broken systems, and everywhere you go, transformation follows, because kings don't just occupy space, kings change it. You can bind things in spirit, loose things in earth, open portals of blessing, close portals of darkness, and you do it with your words, with your presence, with authority woven into who you are. Your assignment includes waking up other chosen ones. You're here to sound the alarm, to help people remember who they really are, to activate dormant gifts, to break chains holding people in bondage across generations. Your testimony alone has power to set people free. And when others hear what you've overcome, something will unlock in them. Recognition that they're chosen too. And that's how awakening spreads, one testimony at a time, one chosen one, activating another. You're also here to expose systems operating in darkness, the agencies, the programs, the organizations, the experiments. You have the gift to see through facades. You survived them, you understand methods, and now you're equipped to warn others, to protect the next generation. Your voice carries weight because you're not speaking theory. You're speaking from experience. You're a witness, and your testimony is evidence. Your bloodline wasn't preserved by accident. Generation after generation survived against impossible odds, so you could be here right now. Your ancestors were praying for you, fighting for you, holding the line so bloodline wouldn't die out. And you're the answer to their prayers. You're the fulfillment of promises made to them, and you have a responsibility to honor that, to walk in fullness of what they fought to preserve. The order of Melchizedek isn't waiting for perfection, it's waiting for willingness, willing to answer the call, willing to step into your role, willing to operate in your authority. You've been trained through trauma, refined through fire, tested through tribulation, and you passed every test, not with flying colors, but with persistence, with faith, with refusal to quit, even when quitting made sense. And that's what qualified you, not perfection, but perseverance. You stop playing small now. You stop hiding gifts. You stop pretending you're just like everyone else, because you're not. And the world doesn't need another person trying to fit in. The world needs you to stand out, to stand up, to stand firm in who you are and what you carry. The agencies studied you, documented you, tried to control you, but failure was their result, because you were never theirs to control. You belong to something greater. You're part of something ancient. You're connected to something eternal. Your voice matters. Your testimony matters. Don't let anyone convince you to stay silent. Don't let fear keep you from speaking up. Don't let shame keep you from sharing what you've overcome, because people are waiting to hear from you. People who feel alone. People who think they're experiencing dysfunction, people who are under attack and don't understand why. And when they hear your voice, something will click, a light will turn on, hope will rise, and recognition will dawn that they're chosen too. That's how awakening spreads, one testimony at a time, one voice at a time, one chosen one, waking up another. And now you're awake, you're aware, you're activated, you're about to show what a fully awakened priest king looks like. You're about to demonstrate what happens when a chosen one operates in full authority. You're about to access information kept from you. You're about to step into your divine assignment, and nothing can be done about it, because your time is now, your season is here, and your destiny is waiting for you to claim it. So rise up, stand tall, and walk in the fullness of who you were always meant to be. You are a priest king. You are from the order of Melchizedek. You are chosen. You are protected. You are powerful. And you are unstoppable.